Hi everybody and welcome to another lesson. Today we're going to be talking about the 5 senses that we have as humans. The 5 senses. And we're going to start from the beginning and then we're going to talk about what the senses are, some vocabulary about them, and I'm going to teach you some other things surrounding them. Okay, let's go. Now the first sense that we have as humans, and some people would argue this is the most important sense, how we see the world around us, is sight. We use our eyes to see. We have sight to see the things around us. I can see the camera, but if I look over here, I can see some other things. If I look back here, then I can see the camera. I can't see you because you are the other side of the computer screen. What else can we do with eyes? Eyes are very important because they help us make sense of the world around us. It helps us to avoid a lot of dangers. If you are walking down the street, you hit things if you don't see them. This is why blind people, and blind is when you are unable to see, your eyes don't work. Blind people have a stick called a blind stick, or they have a dog called a blind dog, and it helps them to move around in life and in the world without so many dangers, to be able to protect themselves. So we have sight, and for example, did you know men and women have things inside their eyes called cones, and men have 2 and women have 3, and it means women have a much greater appreciation, or they can see many more colours, many more shades of colour than men can. I have this argument with my wife a lot of times that we argue about the colour of some clothing. Is it grey or is it green and mixing? For me it's very obvious, but women see many more shades of colour. So, excuse me. So this is sight. I can see. So that brings us to our second sense that we have. And the second sense is about the ears. And this sense is called hearing. And hearing is about the ears. I can hear some noise right now. Right now I can hear someone drilling in the street. I can hear a lot of different things. I can hear, if I do, I can hear my feet on the floor. But I can also listen to things. For example, I listen to music. I can listen to the radio. When the television's on, I watch the television, but I also listen to the sound that comes from the television. So this is the ears. People who are unable to hear are called deaf people. So if you're unable to see, you are a blind person. If you are unable to hear, you are a deaf person. Some people are only partially deaf, which means they're only a little bit deaf, so maybe only in one ear, or they have reduced hearing in both ears, and in which case they wear something called a hearing aid. And a hearing aid sits on the back of the ear, and it allows people to hear things in greater clarity than they would without it. Hearing is very important. It's another very important sense, how we make sense of the The third sense we have is the sense of smell. And when you breathe in through your nose and through your nostrils, you are able to smell a variety of different scents and smells. For example, you have very nice things you can smell. Flowers and perfume, freshly cut grass, food. These are things associated with smell, and the aromas go up into your nose and your brain processes them, and you're able to see if something smells good or smells bad. Smell is also very important for a danger aspect, for example with food. If you smell some meat and the meat is off, or it's rotten, or it's old, then you can smell it. It has a very unpleasant, distinct smell, and you can say, okay, I'm not eating this, it's dangerous for me, I can smell. You don't have to put it in your mouth, and you don't have to get the bacteria into your system. So you can smell things. My favourite food, for example, is food. My favourite smell is food because I'm always hungry. I'm quite a greedy guy, I'm always hungry, but I love the smell of food, freshly cooked, some nice meat or something like this gets me going. So this is the sense of smell. Now the fourth sense is very closely associated with the sense of smell, and it is to do with the mouth, and specifically the tongue. And this is the sense of taste. And taste is when you are able to recognize a distinct flavour when it touches your tongue. On your tongue there are taste buds, and taste buds are the little spots all over the tongue, and they're called receptors that are able to recognize the flavour, send the signals to your brain, and your brain is able to tell what the taste is that you are tasting. For example, if you taste some chocolate, you put it on your tongue, the signal goes here, your brain says, this is chocolate. If you taste vegetables, you put this on, this is another taste. Some meat, something like this. You have very nice, pleasant tastes, and you have very bad tastes. You have tastes like something is very sweet with a lot of sugar. You have tastes very sour, like lemon and lime and things like this. You have bitter taste. For example, coffee and some dark chocolate is bitter. You have salty, when the food has too much salt in it. And your tongue is able to tell the difference between all these different tastes. Sometimes people lose their sense of taste. For example, if they get hit in the head, or they have some sort of brain injury, the receptors don't work properly and they lose their sense of taste. And this can have an element of danger to it as well. For example, if you're eating food and it's bad or it's off and you can't taste it, this can be quite dangerous for you because you don't know when it's bad for you. Also, I imagine, I've never had it, but I imagine eating becomes quite boring when you don't have a sense of taste. You're trying to eat something and it's just bland and boring and there's no flavour to it. So luckily I have a sense of taste, and as I imagine most of you do as well. So we use this to taste food and flavour. The last sense we have, and the fifth sense we have, is involving our entire body, and this is the sense called touch. Most people associate it with the hands, but it's actually your whole body because you feel touch all over your body. And we are able to touch things because under our skin we have things called nerves. And these nerves, again, send electrical signals to our brain. And when you touch your finger, there's an electrical signal that goes to your brain and tells you something is touching my finger. We have this sense to make sense of the world around us. Children, if you see children playing, have to touch everything because they're feeling what the materials are, what the textures are of things, and the contrast between them. For example, if I touch a white wall or some glass, there's a very big difference between these textures, and children use the sense of touch to recognize these and make sense of the world around us. Some people, very, very few, thankfully, are born without the sense of touch, which means the nerves have damage and they are unable to feel, and this can be very dangerous. For example, if you touch something that's very hot, your hand very quickly recognizes it and you remove it before there's damage to your hand. There are different types of pain that we have with touch, and one of these pains is called dull pain, and the other type is called sharp pain. For example, if I hit my hand, it doesn't really hurt. You know, you can do this all day long and it doesn't hurt. This is called dull pain. But sharp pain, if for example I was to take a piece of paper and run it across my hand here, across my palm, it would be a very sharp pain and it would be very painful very quickly. Even though this is much more force and it's a much bigger pressure, it's much more painful when you slide a piece of paper or a knife across your hand because it's a very sharp pain and your brain reacts to it very quickly and you have to take your hand away very quickly to stop some damage. Whereas this, it's not very damaging and you could do this all day long. So this is dull pain, and with paper cut or a knife, this is called very sharp pain. So these are the 5 senses, but are there any more? In fact, yes, there are more senses than the 5 senses. We have sight, hearing, smell, taste and touch. but we have other ways that we make sense of the world around us. A lot of people talk about the sixth sense, which is a mental sense, for example, telepathy, things like this. The film The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis. But we're not going to talk about that today. The other senses we're going to talk about, or I'll give you an example of one. For example, the sense of balance. How we are able to balance. And this works by inside our ears. We have something called an inner ear or a middle ear. And it's a series of small chambers and tubes inside our head. And inside these tubes there is some liquid. And so when we move, the liquid moves through the different chambers in our head. If I move very quickly like this, I don't fall over because the liquid moves in my head and it tells me I am at an angle. People get some problems with this, for example, when travelling. If you're in a car and you're looking out the window, your body tells you you are moving because this fluid is moving with the car. And you look out the window and you can see you are moving. But some people, when they are reading, they get confused because in their brain, the middle ear or the sensor, and these are called accelerometers, and they get confused because their eyes with the book tell them they're not moving, but their head and the middle ear tells them they are moving, and they get travel sick. I get this a little bit on a plane. When a plane takes off and I can't see out the window, and it starts banking and going left and right, I start to feel very uneasy because I can't see the horizon, I can't see what's outside. My brain tells me I'm moving, but my eyes tell me everything's still and everything's the same. So this is one sense, this is the sense of balance. We also have other senses, for example, how we regulate temperature and how we, for example, time. How humans are able to regulate time without a watch or a clock. We're able to do this because we have a sense for it. So these are examples of extra senses that we have. And I guess for now that's everything we need in this lesson. So thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. I hope it helps you and have a very nice day. Okay, bye bye.